Hey guys, so today I'm going to be doing my October wrap up, and if you can tell, I'm in a new location and it's really messy, but we just bought a house, so we literally finished moving everything in yesterday, and now everything is still in boxes and nothing is where it should be. And I'm sure this video is going to sound pretty echoey as well because there's not a lot of stuff like actually set up in this house, so I'm still gonna figure out a filming location down the line. But right now I am standing in the living room, if you can tell by the couch, the TV. So I still wanted to do my October wrap up because I actually read more books than I thought I was going to this month, more books than I've actually read in a while. So I'll get into them right now. The first one that I read in the month of October was When We Were Worthy, and that is by Mary Beth Whalen. The author kindly sent me this book and I really enjoyed it. It takes place in Worthy, Georgia, in this small town, and tragedy strikes, leaving these 3 girls dead, and it's just the response in grief from different perspectives. We have a mother of one of the girls killed, a mother of one of the kids who was involved in the accident who lived. There's the one best friend who was left alive, who wasn't killed, who wasn't with those girls that night. So you get to see a whole different range of grief from close friends, parents, being on the opposite side of everything and having a child who's still alive. This is definitely a book you will feel for the characters. I really felt attached to some in particular, especially the one remaining girl. I really loved her story, and as it progressed through the story, I was almost near tears near the end of her story. It was well worth the read, so I'd highly encourage you picking it up as well. Next, I finally finished the audiobook 11/22/63 by Stephen King, and I thought that I started reading it in August, but I realized I actually started listening to this book in July. I started day 1 of the booktubeathon, and I just now finished it in the beginning of October, which is crazy. And the thing is, I really enjoyed it. So I don't know why it took me such a long time. I mean, it is a very long audiobook. The actual book itself is 700 or 800 pages, I believe. But it was a really good story, and it's one that you cannot summarize too much because there's a lot more plot that develops once you get into it. But kind of a brief synopsis: there's this 40-year-old man, and he goes back in time to stop the Kennedy assassination. And that's pretty much all I'm going to say for it, but there's a lot of characters you're gonna learn to love, and oh my goodness, that ending. I don't want to spoil anything, so I'm not gonna do that here, but if you have read 11/22/63, I would love to talk about the ending because I've seen some reviews where they really liked how it ended and then some who just absolutely hated it. I personally loved it. I think it was just such a good book. I'd never read anything by Stephen King before because I don't read horror books, but this was definitely not horror. It wasn't even really suspenseful. It was like a drama, time travel, sci-fi, I guess, type of story. I don't know. I really liked it. I would highly encourage anyone to pick it up, and don't be dismayed by how long it took me to listen to the audiobook because that was just, I have no idea why it took me so long. I think I had to check it out from the library 5 times before I finished it. Next, I read Tower of Dawn by Sarah J. Maas, and I have a whole review for it, so I will not really talk too much about it, but overall, I loved it. I gave it 4.5 out of 5 stars. Definitely one of my favorites in the Throne of Glass series. I think it brought me back to loving that series a little bit more because I feel like my love for that series of hers has waned a bit, so really loved this book. Definitely pick it up if you've read Throne of Glass books and we're debating whether continuing it because it's Kale, and Kale sometimes isn't a favorite, but he is totally redeemable. He has a great story, great new characters, great subplot. I loved it. I really did. Next, I read another long book. I read A Little Life by, oh gosh, I'm not even gonna try to pronounce this one. I'm very sorry, but this book was tragic. It really was horrible. I don't know if I can even give this book a rating. I've thought about it for a while, and I just have to leave it unrated, like no star rating for me, because I feel very conflicted over this book. I think it was a really cool character study. I love books that span a lot of years, and this book starts with these 4 friends. They're in their early 20s, I believe, and this book spans, I mean, 3 decades, I think. So you really get to see how these characters' lives kind of change, how their friendships change, how their jobs and situations change, but it really all centers around our main character of Jude, and he has been dealt a really bad hand in life. He's had some really horrible trauma that he's experienced as a child, and it still has affected him through adulthood, and you kind of see how that plays out. Definitely has some really hard scenes to read, lots of sexual assaults, just a lot of it. So be prepared if you are thinking of going into this book that it is pretty heavy and a very depressing tone. So it's not something that's gonna make you happy. It's really a sombering book to read. So keep that in mind. I don't know if I could actually recommend this book to anyone. Not that I would not recommend it, but I just don't know if I would personally feel comfortable recommending this book to someone because I do not know their background or their story. So I just personally can't recommend it to anybody. But if it sounds at all interesting to you, if you want to know what all the buzz is about because it's pretty popular, then you should check it out. But if you feel like you need to stop reading the book, totally understandable. Next, I read Strange the Dreamer by Laini Taylor, and I've wanted to read this book for a while. I actually checked it out when this book originally was released from the library, and I never really got past the prologue. So I started it. I don't know, I'm just not completely sold on this book. It wasn't anything bad about the book itself. I just didn't really click with the characters or the plot. And it did take me a while to really warm up to the story because you're left for the first a third to a half of the book without even really knowing the purpose for the book, which I kind of like to have my plot set out more so from the beginning and see it kind of unravel and change into something else. That's fine with me, but I felt just completely clueless for so much of this book. I don't think I was able to visualize a lot of the scenes and a lot of just things that happened in this book, so that made it hard to connect with. And there was paranormal and fantasy mixed into one, which just was a little weird. There was just a lot of stuff I can't really say was bad. It definitely wasn't. It just wasn't my type of thing. So if you're interested in reading Strange the Dreamer, I would say it was still good. I think the last half was a lot better than the first half, so that's for sure. The first half was very slow to me. I didn't really get the point of why we were reading this book, and then I kind of got it as soon as we got, to that last half of the book, and I did really enjoy some of the elements too in the last half, which I will not talk about here. It was still decent. I think I gave it 3.5 stars, maybe 4, and I probably will read the sequel when it comes out, only if I hear that the reviews are good for it. If the reviews aren't really super great, I'm probably just gonna pass on it, but I am still mildly interested in what happens to these characters. And finally, I read Behind Closed Doors by B.A. Paris. I think that's the author of this. This book was recommended to me by my cousin Sarah, so I am so thankful for this recommendation. It was a very fast thriller, and because it's a thriller, I can't really say too much about it other than that it's about this woman who's in a marriage that isn't as perfect as it seems. I'm gonna leave it there, but it was good. I couldn't say that it was a 5-star thriller because it was a very, very fast book. I don't know, it was like 200 pages or so. I had it on the Kindle version, so I'm not sure how many actual pages it was, but it was pretty short, so I feel like we didn't get as much character depth as I would have liked. I think I would have liked a little more backstory. I would have liked to know a little more about the husband and things like that I felt like could have just enhanced the story a lot more. So as the story was, it was good. It was a little predictable, but I still enjoyed it. I was still on the edge of my seat and I kept wanting to turn the page. So it definitely had me hooked, and it was well worth the read because it was so fast. Perfect for this time of the year because Halloween is coming up this week. So I'm very happy that I read it. I don't know if this author has written anything else, but if she or he, don't know the gender of this author, has, then maybe I'll check out some other books of theirs because it was pretty good. I liked it. Anyway, so you can expect to see some more videos in weird backgrounds such as this in the upcoming months. I don't really know where I'm going to have my little filming set up, but bear with me. Anyway, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Happy reading.